Alex, first of all, let me compliment you on your spiffy-looking sports jacket there. You might make the best dressed list for 2016.
Thank you, sir.
On New Year's Day, but don't bet on it. Look, I'm delighted to be with you because, as you point out, the mainstream media is trying to suppress the news of the Trump revolution, and they're particularly trying to suppress any information regarding the Clintons, which may be negative, whether it is Bill's serial assaults of women and Hillary's threats against his sexual assault victims, or whether it is the corruption of the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative. So many times I think Americans can only go to Drudge, to Breitbart, to InfoWars, to the Daily Caller, to Town Hall, and to another compendium of liberty-oriented sites. And thank God for that, but you're right. The New World Order folks are trying to even close down those outlets or censor those outlets.
Congress is now having hearings to shut us down. Drudge as a campaign operation by name, WorldNet Daily, All of Us Next, when they're the ones trying to censor us like we're Russia in 1960.
Yeah, no, look, my head is still spinning about the fact that CNN allows Ted Cruz to come on the air, attack me by name.
They say you're banned. They admit you're blacklisted. Talk about McCarthyism, so is MSNBC. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so they allow Cruz to attack me by name, but then they don't afford me the opportunity to respond, which, as you know, is journalistically unethical, and I think proves the point that CNN, the Clinton News Network, as we call them in our office, they're not a news organization. They're an advocacy group for the Clintons. They are committed to hiding the Clintons' crimes and censoring anybody who would seek to criticize them. I mean, this was manifest just the other morning when Chris Cuomo asked Donald Trump, actually point blank said, "You are criticizing Hillary for her husband's indiscretions." Alex, this isn't about indiscretion. It's not about marital infidelity. It's not about adultery. It's not about girlfriends. It's about something far darker: sexual assault and rape. So when New York Magazine writes, Trump made these allegations about Hillary being an enabler without a scintilla of evidence, no, there's plenty of evidence. Living, breathing evidence. Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, Christy Zurcher, Sandra Allen James, and dozens of others.
Well, I mean, hasn't Bill settled cases where this was claimed? That's pretty suspicious.
Yeah, he paid $850,000 to Paula Jones in the settlement of a civil case. What they don't understand is that the Trump movement is bigger than the Republican Party. The Trump movement is not built around the need for party unity, because really the new measure here, Alex, is this is the Republicans and Democrats together against Donald Trump and everyone else.
That's it. It's the Republicans and Democrats against Trump and everybody else, the establishment against the populace.
Here's my point. Expansion of the party is more important than party unity. I'm more interested in new voters than I am in old leaders. There are at least, based on my analysis, 1 million possible Trump voters, potential Trump voters, in the 10 states that are going to decide this election. The Trump campaign needs the machinery and the mechanism to go out and locate those folks and get them registered and then make sure they vote. Every day I work with dozens of people who have left their businesses, left their families to help Donald Trump, who are being compensated nothing, not even their expenses.
And they're banning you in the media because you're so effective.
And they're Ron Paul supporters, they're Ronald Reagan supporters, they're people I've known back to the Young Republicans, they're former Republican state chairmen, former members of Congress like Billy Hendon, who's a great patriot. These people are giving of their time and their money, and they're leaving their families to come work for free.
I just admire your courage. Man, you're standing up to a machine that has a trail of bodies as far as
I was about to ask, does he get threats? We worry about Trump.
Yeah. Do you have good protection? Are you're poking a grizzly bear?
Well, my security people asked me not to talk about it, but I have increased my personal security and that around my home. My wife, of course, is very concerned about this because the Clintons have a track record of having people savagely beaten, like Gary Johnson, who was a witness to Bill's involvement with Jennifer Flowers, or Jerry Parks, who I believe Bill Clinton had murdered because of what he knew about Bill's past. So it's a legitimate concern. Let me say this as I do, and every time this question comes up. Alex, if in a couple weeks they tell you that I committed suicide because I was depressed, or if I get hit by a truck crossing the street,
or struck by a bolt of lightning,
I tell you I was killed in a freak hunting accident, don't believe it. Hillary Clinton's the major perp, and she needs to be exposed. I'm in perfectly good health. I'm in a great mood. I am working 18-hour days. I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't make it without Brain Force. I went online. I bought some Brain Force. I pop those in the morning. I pop those at night, and I get 4 or 5 more hours of work. So
I didn't know that was coming. I know you got more interviews coming up, but Roger Stone's 70-second break. We're with Gary Haven, Marigeddon, the new movie. Come back 70 seconds. Finish up the lavish plug for Brain Force, but a few other questions for Mr. Haven. Then we have our guest host, Anthony Gucciardi, taking over. Roger Stone's our guest, StoneZone.com. The tip of the spear in the populist movement behind Trump to restore the republic. As Trump realizes this is history, this is destiny, it's not some egomaniac thing. He really does care about America. He knows the globalists hate America. He's trying to make a stand against him. He knows he's on a potential mission that'll destroy him politically or even physically. Quite frankly, a suicide mission, some could call it. Who is, in 60 seconds, Donald Trump, and any other tidbits?
Above all, he's his own man. He's a nationalist. He's a patriot. He totally gets it. He's not a fan of Wall Street. He's not a fan of K Street. But above all, he is fiercely independent. And Alex, I got to tell you, I've dealt with some very tough customers, Richard Nixon among them. Donald Trump is the toughest human being I've ever met with. He is mentally tough in a negotiation, which I've seen firsthand. This man has ice water in his veins. So when it comes to dealing with the Russians or the Chinese or any of our adversaries, he's the man you want. He's not a social worker. He's not a weakling. He's not Barack Obama. He is the tough guy we need, both mentally tough and physically tough.
And he's not a fake guy, I've been told. I mean, he just genetically wants a good deal for everybody and just won't be pushed around. And that's why they're scared of him. They're scared to death of him.
You know, Trump's movement is because people are waking up and they've realized their country's been stolen. And he is providing the leadership that gives us hope that we can take it back. So do you think that that there's enough of us freedom-minded people to drive Trump to victory without compromising with the establishment?
Yeah, I think that's precisely the point. In other words, if this were Republicans versus Democrats, then the concept of party unity would be crucial. You would need every possible Republican. The point is that Donald Trump is bigger than the Republican Party, and he has the capability to bring millions of Democrats and independents.
What's he already brought? 2.5 million more in?
Yeah.
So we already have 3 million more voters than they do. Let's take Florida, for example. Mitt Romney lost in the general election in Florida by 30,000 votes. 350,000 more people voted for Trump in the Republican primary in Florida than voted for Mitt Romney 4 years ago. The handwriting's on the wall. Trump can carry Florida.
Where should we start?
Well, let's start with the Trump campaign's new pollster, Tony Fabrizio. Tony Fabrizio is someone I have literally known since my early 20s. He may be the most talented and gifted, but most importantly, the most combative strategist and survey researcher in the Republican Party. The truth is, Tony Fabrizio is far more than a pollster. A pollster is just a guy who takes samples of public opinion. Fabrizio has an uncanny ability to fashion that into a strategy. He's a very aggressive, in-your-face street fighter. He's perfect for the campaign to take down the Clintons. Donald Trump spoke to Fabrizio 3 years ago when he was briefly considering running for president then. This is a major, major coup for the Trump campaign. Now, Fabrizio was with Rand Paul. His personal politics are very libertarian. He's exactly what the doctor ordered in terms of helping Donald Trump refine his attack strategy on the Clintons and helping him define what the key issues are going to be that decide this election. It's a 10 strike getting him on board. I'm very excited about it.
Well, I remember you 6 months ago telling me about Fabrizio and, just how key he is to winning this thing. Run us through the waterfront. I mean, folks want to know all things Trump, how the campaign's going, what the next shoe to drop is, what the enemy's up to, what Hillary's up to.
Well, as you know, and I'm sure you've heard it, Alex, I heard it a lot today, Donald Trump was meeting today with Henry Kissinger. I read on Infowars.com the other day that he met privately with James A. Baker III. Now, I knew he was meeting with Jim Baker, but I didn't know that was a public matter. And there are some in the Trump revolution who are scratching their heads and saying, well, wait a minute, is Trump being co-opted by the establishment? Is he being taken over by the very people who've destroyed this country? And I must tell you, I've known Trump for almost 40 years. His views on trade, his views on NATO, his views on Wall Street have not changed in 30 years. He is his old man, and he's playing the establishment. He's playing them. So in the wider population, Henry Kissinger is viewed as a sage. Alex, you and I probably view him more as a war criminal.
Absolutely.
But to the American people, he's some kind of an expert on foreign policy. Believe me, Donald Trump, I'm sure, is seeing Henry Kissinger as a courtesy. I'm sure it'll be a polite meeting, but no one is going to get Donald Trump to change his strongly held views on immigration, on trade, on war, on the war in Iraq, which he recognized early was a mistake. I had lunch today with a journalist from the New York Times. She affirms that she interviewed Trump before the beginning of the Iraq War, at the very beginning, and that he was unquestionably opposed to the war.
Sure, he wrote that in his book at the time. Well, I mean, let me expand on this. I said the same thing you're saying yesterday. I hadn't talked to you about your views on it yet, but I mean, it's the same because it's true. He has to at least talk to people. He has to at least be friendly on the surface, or they will try to kill him. I mean, these are gangsters. And he met with Haas, and then Haas badmouthed him a week later and then Trump got more nationalistic. And so that's the reason they're so scared of him. But absolutely, it ended up being in a Houston news that he was meeting with Baker, so we ran the story, because we're going to cover whatever Trump does. But I said on air, I don't think Trump's betraying us. It's his actions. I hope he meets with these people. Just like he says he'd meet with foreign dictators to try to get them to change their mind. That's how he wants to try to influence them. I mean, we ought to be glad this is happening.
Well, in fact, I don't think he wants to rush to war with the Chinese or the Russians. I think he would usher in an entire new era of negotiations, but hard-headed negotiations. Negotiations where the best interests of the United States...
Sure, a president that wouldn't sell us out, a president would make good deals.
But I want to reassure those people at the grassroots, because you have his naming a fellow from Goldman Sachs as his finance chairman. Remains to be seen whether that gentleman can raise the $1 billion that Donald Trump is going to need. You have him meeting with Baker, who is an expert on the institution. Somebody who was in that meeting told me that 80% of the discussion was Trump questioning Baker about how Ronald Reagan ran his administration, how he ran his presidency, what Reagan's day was like. So it sounds to me like Donald Trump benefited from that meeting. The Henry Kissinger thing I view as a touchstone. But anyone who thinks Kissinger could talk Trump out of his views doesn't understand.
Absolutely. He's meeting with Kissinger so he can say, look, I talked to the supposed foreign policy wonk that the media worships.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I don't think that there is much value.
Well, I mean, look, my audience gets it. They understand to beat Hillary, he's not going to have to compromise. He's not going to break eggs. He's going to follow the policies he said. That's why they're so scared of him. But he's going to have to raise money. He's going to have to get his hands dirty a little bit because this is a dirty business, period. I mean, he says, I don't like the system of buying off politicians, but it's legal. It's what I have to do business. I want to change it. I don't like making my ties in Mexico or China. It's cost prohibitive. You can't do it here. He goes, okay, I got hats made in America. They're twice the price. Buy them. I mean, I get it. I've been through it myself. I understand it. I tell people, we have shirts and hats made in America. and they're $30, and we have shirts and hats made in Mexico, and they're $15. So, you know, you make your choice, and people want the $15 ones. I mean, I get it.
Well, and let's go a step further. It's CYA money. So the Wall Street types, the K Street types, they are going to cover their derriere. I want a president who is smart enough not to turn that money down. It's like the question that I keep asking Trump, how much did you pay in taxes? And his answer is, as little as I possibly can. That's the guy I want watching.
Yeah, I hope his IRS stuff comes out and he's really not trying to pay the IRS. That's what kind of thing I want to see.
Well, I don't think he's broken any laws, but
I know, but I mean, none of it goes around the country, as Reagan's commission found with Congress. It all goes to the debt. It keeps the economy in the toilet. The elites are offshore and don't pay tax. So I mean, look, Warren Buffett tries to avoid tax but says raise them. Trump tries to avoid taxes and says cuts them. I love that.
Well, yeah, day before yesterday, I had a delegation from the Chinese government contact me. They wanted to have lunch. I went to lunch with a bunch of diplomats. It was very pleasant. They wanted to know one thing and one thing only. Is Donald Trump really going to cut the corporate tax rate of the United States below that of China? They are petrified, Alex, that he's going to do this because they know exactly what will happen. The giant U.S. corporations doing business in China will all return to the United States to expand here, to hire here, to create jobs here. And that is, of course, not in the best interests of the Chinese. I like the idea of a president who puts the interests of the United States first. I think that's what the voters find most refreshing about Donald Trump.
Well, that's incredible. So they are just horrified. But look, it's a level playing field, and he likes to make deals that are fair because he wants to have business back and forth. When you talk to Trump, I mean, I know he's put some specifics out. What would be fair, just to lower it to the point maybe of China, and then to do things like make them raise their currency?
We are currently at 35% as the corporate tax rate. China is at 25%. We could drop our rate to 20, or even better, 15, and you would suck all those companies out of China and back to the United States.
That's right.
Now you have also, which is far more effective than tariffs would be. You also have his program for inversion, bring back about $2 trillion that is sitting offshore untaxed to be taxed at a fair rate. And then Trump is the only presidential candidate who's recognized that there's almost $1 trillion sitting in the federal checking accounts, which has never been swept, that is unbudgeted. So before you start cutting social programs, let's go get that money. Trump has the most dynamic and really the most pro-growth.
That's right, and he won't shut down another 1,000 plants like Obama did, which will try to keep us competitive on energy. I mean, he will literally, all he's doing is going to take Count Dracula off our neck. Just taking the vampire off, we could get better. But we have to get Count Dracula off, and globalism is Count Dracula.
Agreed. Now, you asked me about obstacles for the campaign. I do want to warn your viewers and your listeners about this Great America PAC. This is run by Ed Rollins, who actually works for Teneo, which is, he's a senior advisor there. Teneo is a Bill and Hillary Clinton connected lobbying firm that paid Bill Clinton about $2 million a year. Rollins' cohort in Great America PAC is a fellow named Jesse Benton.
Oh, boy.
He's a convicted felon, convicted just last week of bribing people in Iowa to support Ron Paul. He drove Ron Paul and Rand Paul's campaigns into the toilet. He is devoid of any political skill. This particular PAC, Great America PAC, has a $600,000 debt on the books. And
that's the one I've seen in the news that's kind of acting like it represents Trump. And so,
yeah, I mean, Rollins, who's never been a Trump supporter, keeps now.
Well, I mean, you even heard our guest in here where they're contacting him, acting like they represent Trump to put him on Trump's advisory board. And Trump is actually in the news with his lawyers saying, don't give money to this group.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a scam. And I'm sure if you're like me and you're on every pro-conservative and pro-liberty mailing list, you're getting inundated with these appeals. Don't fall for it. These folks said they were going to spend $1 million to help Trump. They wrote $1 million check to a media buyer But then the New York Times determined that they only spent $100,000 on ads in the primaries. So this is a fraud, and the hard-earned dollars of individual mom and pop donors.
Sure. Well, we know we have to also watch out for straw men with, like, not this group, but other groups where they put out fake Trump supporters and then have them say outrageous stuff. I mean, that's what type of dirty tricks do you expect next? Because you said the woman thing, the mafia thing, they've done all that now. The fake lawsuits. What else is coming?
Well, this New York Times piece, I think, is a watershed. And I give great credit to the Trump campaign because they were able to roll out a number of the women who were quoted in the story, but who were quoted out of context. And in many cases, the Times divined what these women were thinking. Oh, she felt degraded when Trump said, why don't you put on a bathing suit? These women didn't feel degraded at all. I think the mainstream media here, and the New York Times particularly, has made a mistake, Alex, because they've now set a standard. If we're going to examine the conduct of Donald Trump towards women in the 70s...
We've got to look at Bill Clinton and the pedo plane.
We got to look at Bubba and his serial rapes, his assaults, his exposing himself to women, and then we come to the question of the credibility of his accusers. I believe every one of these women, Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, Christy Zurcher, Sandra Allen James, and many others, every one of them is more credible than Hillary Clinton. Based on the public record, based on all the other lies Hillary has told, whether it is lying about being broke when you left the White House, or lying about the stealing the silver and the furniture and the china when they left the White House, or lying about whether her grandparents were immigrants, or lying about being named after Sir Edmund Hillary, or lying about the reason that 4 brave Americans died in Benghazi.
What about Brian Williams when she claimed that she was in the Balkans and got shot at and attacked? All baloney. I mean, this woman is the definition of a liar.
Yeah, no, the sniper fire. She was under sniper fire. She lies about who the real father of Chelsea Clinton is. She lies about cattle futures and how she made a killing with insider trader information. In all honesty, every one of these women who bears accusations against Bill Clinton will be found to be more credible than Hillary.
Well, they settled some of these rape cases. I mean, we've got them.
Well, Paula Jones settled for $850,000. There is no admission of guilt by Bill Clinton, in all fairness. But I can see what's coming, and it's very important that people understand it. Anyone who questions the Clintons' narrative of things is immediately branded as a conspiracy theorist. That's not a compliment when they say that. You're a kook. You're a nut. You believe everything that's in the National Enquirer. With all due respect, the National Enquirer is more accurate than the Washington Post. They broke the John Edwards
story.
But
I mean, that doesn't work anymore when they call us conspiracy theorists. Have they figured that out yet?
No, they really haven't. This is why Media Matters for America, the George Soros-funded Clinton apologist group, the rape enablers, or call them rape deniers, if you will, who try to whitewash anything done by Bill, Hillary, or Chelsea Clinton, they are every day just out there attacking the messenger. Whether it's Alex Jones, whether it's Roger Stone, it's a constant vilification. Here's what they don't understand. I'm not running for president. You're not my running mate. This isn't about us.
But let me go further and say this. They attack what they're most afraid of as if they have the moral high ground, and a trick that they're labeling us as embarrassing is why they're targeting us. But if you look at what we've covered the last year, they're targeting and labeling what they're most afraid of and hoping that Trump doesn't start beating the drum on. And I know Trump's sophisticated enough to understand that.
Well, I understand that Donald Trump is on with Sean Hannity tonight. I think this is going to be a very, very important interview. And I hope folks will tune in, because this entire question of women and conduct towards women is now at the forefront. And the mainstream media would like to define this as indiscretions or affairs or adultery or cheating. But it's none of those things. It's about rape and sexual assault and the abuse of men and women by the
Sure. Are you predicting we're going to be hearing some of that tonight from Trump?
I know nothing. I know that he is very hunkered down He is offended by the New York Times story, as he should be. It's a hatchet job. And Trump is the greatest counterpuncher in American political history.
We're going to win with our military. It's being depleted. We're going to build up our military, make it stronger, bigger, better than ever before. And we're going to knock the hell out of ISIS, just so you understand. We have no choice. We have no choice. As part of that, we're going to take care of our great veterans. Our veterans have been left behind very unfair. We're going to win on education. We're getting rid of Common Core. We're bringing education local. We're going to win on education. We're going to repeal Obamacare, and we're going to come up with something that's so much better and less expensive. We're going to save and protect and cherish our Second Amendment. We're going to build the wall. We're going to have Mexico pay for the wall, and we're going to have strong borders, and we're going to have people come into our country, but they're going to come in legally. And we are going to make unbelievably good trade deals. No more stupid deals where our businesses and our money get sucked out of our country. We're going to make great trade deals done by the greatest people. We have the greatest negotiators in the world right here in this country, and we're going to use them. We're not going to use political hacks that don't know what they're doing, and probably, who the hell knows, they're bought off, and that's why they're making such bad deals. We're going to make the greatest trade deals. And you're going to look back and you're going to say, you know what? That's when we started winning again. When Trump took over. And we're going to win. We're going to keep winning. We're going to win so much you're going to beg me, Mr. President, please, please. It's too much winning. We can't take it. And I'm going to say, I don't care. We're going to keep winning because we're going to make America great again.